Guyon-Lake-Tysen farmhouse. The kitchen was built in the 1820s, and today being Candlelight Tours, we are getting ready in this house. We celebrate some Dutch customs at Christmas time, and most significant at this time is St. Nicholas Eve and St. Nicholas Day. For Dutch children were given presents and sweet treats to eat if they had been good, and so we every year make a gingerbread man in this beautiful mold. The pattern is probably from the 17th century, and this one portrays a very nicely attired gentleman who is walking with his cane in one hand and his dog at his side, and he is dressed most elaborately. And so I have a simple batter that gets made, dough, and it gets pressed into the mold and then turned out onto a baking sheet and baked until it is nicely cooked and browned. So the ingredients are very simple. We have 2 cups of flour and a cup of butter, not melted but softened, and here in 1820 I mash it with a fork or cut it with a knife or mush it with my fingers. And you can do all of those things if you should want to make a fancy gingerbread man yourself. So the recipe is 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of butter. Mix those together till they are crumbly, as if you were making a pie crust. You want your flour and butter to be like little peas. And then you add about a cup of molasses, and then the spices that go in for flavor. I like cinnamon, so I put a little cinnamon in. It also adds to the color. And then, of course, what gives it its name is ginger powder. So we add some flour and some ginger and some cinnamon to our softened butter and make a nice dough. And then we take the dough, spread it on the table, roll it a little with our nice wooden rolling pin, roll the dough up onto the rolling pin, lay it over the pattern, and pat it into the mold. You need your baking sheet, and I'm going to be baking this in a tin reflector oven. So I will turn, because it's just exactly the right size of the gingerbread man, I put him on the back to cook. It sounds weird, but it works. So you have your dough pressed into the mold so that it picks up the pattern, and you tip and tap on the mold to get the gingerbread man to fall out. And then he will be here on the bake sheet, face up, with all his beautiful pattern. Pick the whole thing up, and it sits in front of my nice bright fire with clear flames. It sits in front. It doesn't go into the fireplace, but it sits in front and it traps the heat and the light. And it will bake usually in about 20 minutes, which is what it would take in a modern oven, because reflector ovens are magnificent. The goal is for all the detail that shows up in the wooden carved mold to continue to appear even after the gingerbread man is baked. So there have been years when he has been more or less successful, but this year's he came out pretty detailed. And as I said, he takes about 20 minutes to bake. And you want him to be crisp. The idea was that he has really the sugar and the molasses, which is sugary, as a preservative, so that he will keep even back in the old days with no refrigeration, and children were given gingerbread men and other fancy breads and candy and nuts and fancy things like oranges as holiday treats. And there were lots of Dutch paintings of St. Nicholas Eve with children enjoying their food and their presents and their giant gingerbread cookies.